Gonna run. All right, we will call the county board meeting to order, and we will start with the flag pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item, are there any disclosures of interest from anyone on the board? Okay, hearing none. Previous board meeting minutes from July 3rd at the Cannon Valley Fair.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And second, we approve the minutes as presented. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same. Motion carries. Review the agenda. Are there any changes?
There are no changes.
Move to approve the agenda?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, there are 7 items.
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Administration, MCIT update.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you guys need a handout? I have a copy of one, or do you follow along online? I'm not sure.
We have it here.
Would anybody like to take a copy?
You can give me one.
Okay.
Thank you. This is the one you got your notes on?
exactly.
Well, then I could have done the report.
Again, thanks a lot for having me on the agenda. My name is Jim Carrolls, and I represent MCIT, known as your insurance company. But I'm going to explain, and part of this is why we're not exactly an insurance company. We're a different entity than that. So this morning, what I'd like to do is, I have it's a 4-page handout for you to review. I'm going to use this as the presentation. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'm going to highlight something from each section and just kind of talk about that. So just the top left corner just kind of reminds you of who we are and what we do. So we are actually your insurance pool. And what's the difference between an insurance pool and an insurance company? Well, in 1979, we were set up by the state of Minnesota to insure counties specifically. So MCIT, our only job is to insure counties. We're not out marketing for anybody else. I don't get paid a commission. I'm a public employee. So we're set up by the counties for the counties. And so we try to align our insurance needs with your county business needs. So we try to partner with you. So that's a big difference between an insurance company and us. In our pool, in your pool, we have 81 of the 87 Minnesota counties. The other 6 counties that are not in the pool are the largest ones in Minnesota that actually self-insure. So we have all the counties that we want in the pool, which is great. So we have everybody that we want in the pool, and the pool has, since 1979, as I'll explain, has operated very well. Also, just so you know that we have other county entities that are in the pool other than the 81 counties. So for instance, we will have an independent relationship with, say, your Ag Society, your Fair Board, your Historical Society, as well as the other 81 counties. And we do have a fair amount of small like SWCDs that operate in the county, soil water conservation districts. But certainly by far, by and large, our largest folks that that we insure and interact with are the 81 counties. So gives you a little idea of who we are and why we were set up and how we go about things. If you look at the bottom of the page, it talks about members do their part. So we have, members that we interact with. We here at Goodhue County, I have basically 3 primary contacts. I have Scott Arneson, we have Heather Poncelet from HR, and Lucas Stalling from Finance. So those are our 3 primary contacts. And then from there, they can disseminate the information as they see fit around the county. So, but just so you know, those are normally our primary contacts. The top right-hand corner talks about how commissioners do their part. We just ask that you stay abreast of any MCIT items that you may need to support. If your county's experiencing a large loss, for instance, that if you can do anything to help out, just please be aware and give your support there. And also, as a reminder, at MCIT, we're also beholden to a board, and our commissioners are made up of your cohorts. So our board is made up of other commissioners from around the 81 counties that sit on our board and meet monthly with us. So if you look at the next page, the next 3 pages sort of talk about in detail of how things are going and where we're going. It's 3 pages of not great news, and the reason I can boil it down to is because our costs are going up. And I can boil that down to one word too, and it's because of inflation. We'll get into it though, we'll talk about it, but unfortunately insurance is not immune from inflation. As a matter of fact, we're deeply impacted by inflation, and we're one of the last entities, the insurance entity, because we have such a lag of information that we use to predict the future, to come out of probably this inflationary bugaboo we're in, if you will. So if you take a look at the page 2, the top left-hand corner, it talks about one of our cost drivers. Right off the bat, it's one of the more complex ones that we have. So at MCIT, we also purchase insurance. We purchase reinsurance. And what that is we have insurance that sits on top of us to prohibit a large loss from, essentially blowing our whole budget. So at MCIT, we cover the first $850,000 of a loss. If that loss is going to go above that, then we turn it over to reinsurance. Reinsurance we get from a global market, all entities do, and that reinsurance, again, comes globally, and their costs are rising exorbitantly. Some folks have seen their premiums triple, some double. For us, in the last 2 years, we've seen our premiums go up 50% total, which is still a cost driver that we need to absorb. As a result of that, so for 2025, we essentially upped our deductible, if you will. We said we'll take on the first $1 million of a loss to offset some premium calculations that were going up. So with the hopes that we don't have a lot of losses that go above $850,000 in between $1 million to offset the premium that we're getting an offset for. So far year to date, here we are in July and things are going well. So knock on wood, that continues and that pays off for us in the pool.
Just a question on that. So when you raise your reinsurance, when you can turn it over to reinsurance, does that raise the amount of dollars you have to have in reserve? You have to compensate for that $150,000 per claim.
Yeah, it would raise the reserves to cover that $150,000. Yes,
Would have to.
Would.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So I
You're
understand.
right.
I would have guessed that.
Yep,
I just
you're
want to
correct.
make sure of that. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you look at the bottom of the page, it talks more directly of what we're seeing. So we have, the 81 counties property insurance. In 2021, we had $6.6 billion of property values. And now in 2025, we have $9.2 billion of property values. That's like almost a 40% increase over 4 years. That's a lot of $1 billion that now needs to be covered by insurance. That's a big cost driver. I mean, a lot of that is due to inflation. Granted, there's a lot of construction going on in the 81 counties. If you build a new jail, if you build a new courthouse, could be talking hundreds of millions of dollars, but here we're talking billions of dollars that has increased over that, and it's due to inflation. It's no different than what you're hopefully seeing on your own personal property side. You're seeing your own personal property values increase.
We're not hoping we see it on our homes personally. Just so you know, none of us want to see that go up either.
It's better than the alternative of seeing the property
Yes,
value
it
go down,
is.
is what I mean. But as that value goes up, it needs to be covered by insurance, and that's essentially what we're doing with all the county's property. And so that's a cost driver, for example. If you take a look at the other page, page 3, top left-hand corner, it talks directly about the property liability and workers' compensation rates. So when I'm talking about inflation factors, what am I talking about? It's a lot of it is paying claims that need to be paid that are now higher than what they used to be. So for instance, on the property side, if we have a completely demolished or even damaged building, it's the paying for those building materials that have now gone up, the sheetrock, the metal, the concrete, the wiring. It's paying the wages of the trades folks and them to come in and do the repairs. It's the paying of the claims on the auto side. Again, auto materials, auto repair costs. On your work compensation side, so we cover your workers' compensation for you. So if a county employee for Goodhue gets injured on the job, we pay for their medical and lost wages if they're home recovering. Those costs have all increased on the medical side, and as well as lost wages. Hopefully, if you give your employees raises to keep up with inflation. So again, all those inflationary factors have led to an increase in our costs recently. The good news is, if you take a look at the far right there, we continue to operate in the black, not in the red, and by doing that, we're able to give out a dividend. Again, how we're set up, I kind of talked a little bit about how we're set up. What we do is, at the beginning of the year, if you will, or before that, but we calculate how much we need to pay claims, set up for reserves, pay costs, and then we charge you what's called a contribution in the other Walkaday world. It's called premium, as you know it as. So we charge the counties a premium. We take in the premiums, and once we factor out all those expenses at the end of the year, if we have money left over, we give it back to you. We're essentially a nonprofit. It's your money. We give it back to you. So as you can see there, 2024, what your dividend was. And since 1979, we've always operated, thankfully, in the black and not in the red. Even though it's a strange way, they asked me to remind you, if technically, if we were doing our job awesomely, your dividend would be closer to zero. Because that would just mean we calculated correctly, we charged you the right amount, we calculated our expenses. But again, we're much happier to give out a dividend than not, so it's yours and you get it back anyway. So if you take a look at the bottom, talking about as part of your offerings that you buy into, you do get cyber insurance with us. And cyber is now an interesting animal. It's ever more technical and obviously here to stay, and only going to get more complicated as more and more bad actors enter this arena. And you think to yourself, well, are counties really a target? Yes and no. Counties have been a target. Not necessarily like going after if you have a driver's license issuance and there's money taken in there, obviously. They're not really trying to hit that. Where they're really going after are your health and human services records. They want the social security numbers and those databases and things like that. That seems to be their number one target. And if you look at, interesting enough, if you look at 2023, we had our worst year. We had $1.7 million worth of claims generated, Minnesota-wide for the 81 counties in this field. And we thought, is this the new norm? Is it only going to actually go like this? Actually, is it only going to go up? And because fairly new and we're tracking it and seeing how this goes. But if you look at 2024, we paid out $567,000, over a $1.1 million decrease, and we know why. Thankfully, it is counties ramping up their prevention in this area, their preventive techniques, as well as prevention, just as important, ramping up employee training on don't click on malicious websites or malicious links. All of these that we are experiencing are bad actors. They're still coming in through the front door. They're not coming in through the back door. They're not circumventing our firewall and getting in. They're all getting in still by employees clicking on red flag emails and malicious links. So by that training, it helped reduce our claims by 1.1 million. We're hoping that's the norm, right? So, but it's still relatively new, and we'll continue to progress and track it and trends and try to help out. But so far, just from what counties have done in the last year, it's been awesome. So it's been a good thing to. Hopefully that continues, right? If you look at the back page, specifically Goodhue County, looking at your workers' compensation claims and your what's called your experience mod rate. This is what's used to calculate your workers' compensation premium. So these actuarialists and mathematicians, they calculate this formula, and how the formula is constructed. So say a county your size facing your hazards would get an experience mod. It would generate experience mod of a 1.0. That would mean that's a predictability factor of an average county for having the average amount of claims, your size in your hazard profile. If your mod rate came out at a 1.1, then you're 10% essentially worse than average. 1.2, 1.3, 30%. Now, it's been as high as we've seen as a 2.0, which is double or twice as worse than average. That's a bad year. We'd look to focus to bring that down. If you're under 1.0, 0.9, you're 10% better. 0.8, 20% better. So Goodhue County at a 0.969 is obviously under 1.0, doing better than average. Congratulations. That's awesome. That means, we're not, we're doing a little better than average about having our folks getting injured on the job and being on workers' compensation. So that's essentially what that means. Taking a look at the claims we're seeing pool-wide, if you look at to the right there, it talks about the departments that we see are our highest claimants and dollars per claim. So the departments that we see in the pool countywide, our number one is sheriffs and jails. And that's, not a secret or, not a surprise, I should say. They see the most unique hazards. They get involved with some of the most unique circumstances. So generally they see the most claims. Plus they're 24/7. And so that makes sense too. On the highway department is number two. Again, they can be 24/7. They face unique hazards as well. So third, I don't think Goodhue County, you don't run a nursing home, county sponsor. Okay, if you did, that's number three. Again, unique hazards in their field. And then it drops precipitously from there, the departments that we see that encounter claims. So on the property and liability side, again, autos is always number one for us, mainly because we insure in pool-wide 35,000 autos, and just by a numbers frequency, they're the ones that are going to see the most claims, claim-wide, and then property liability from there. So it gives you an idea of where we're seeing claims in the pool and what we're doing. And I just remind you also for your workers' compensation, you're doing great, but if you want to get better and you want to focus some areas of need around employee safety or safety trainings, I'm a risk management consultant. We do provide loss control consultants. Alethea Sheridan is your loss control consultant. She can help with staff and also, construct trainings or efforts to help with safety and loss control in those areas. And because that kind of brings me to the bottom part. We don't just want to necessarily pay claims and and offer insurance. We also want to be a valued resource for you. We're bolstering our website. You can always call me, and that happens a lot, and that's awesome. But we're trying to make our website also more of a one-stop shop, everything MCIT related, in terms of resources, classes we're offering, trainings we're offering, things that may be worthwhile for counties that they may need are all available on the website as well, and things like that. And how to get into your Goodhue County register to see your properties and do your claim performance and things like that. It's all still set up there on a portal that you have access to. So again, we're just trying to be a relevant resource for you, and we hope to continue to do that. And so that just gives you an idea of MCIT, how we're doing and where we're going, and that's all I had for you today. So.
Questions? Just a comment. You know, I just appreciate the work of MCIT working collaboratively with AMC, some of the training, some of the sharing of resources to get information. You guys do a fantastic job that way, and I know it's one of the best deals out there for counties to be in a pool like this with each other.
Yeah, yep.
And
the sharing is what we see, and it just, I don't know how you can put a price on that, but it's been awesome. Yeah.
It's the information back and forth that you're giving all counties. It's just very valuable to us. So, and just one of the questions when you talked about the insured values increasing. Part of that, I know that MCIT has done probably a more in-depth job of getting to counties and looking over buildings and giving us advice on how to make things safer and some of that, but it's also giving you eyes on what you're insuring, that your values are probably way closer than they were before some of those things were happening. So
100% right. So every 5 years you get a boots on the ground appraisal of all your properties, insurable value of 100,000 or greater, which is most of the buildings, I'm sure. So, so every year we do build in an inflationary factor to try to keep those close that we get from the federal generated numbers that they have for consumer price index or property values. But every 5 years we make sure we take pictures and have eyes and to make sure everything's true up the numbers to make sure it's accurate. So that helps keep everything on course. So to try to stave off some big surprise where like, oh boy, things went up 20% and we only put an inflationary factor of 3%, or something like. So there's no big surprises. Right. We try to keep it for the county. So that's the goal. Yeah. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
I have one just kind of curiosity question. Is this kind of program common in other states as well?
Yes, it is actually.
Okay.
So it's a fairly similar model. So for instance, Red Wing, they would get their insurance from the League of Minnesota Cities.
Right.
And then counties get it through MCIT. And most states, I don't know exactly if it's all, but most follow a similar model. Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And, beyond, you mentioned a few of them, like the Cannon Valley Trail gets its insurance through MCIT. I think the watershed districts, the ones that have been created recently, I think a lot of them are coming through MCIT because they have that county connection.
Correct.
So it's kind of nice that we're all working together on that.
Yep. So, if there's a new member, it goes to their board, and the board is of commissioners, and, we decide on the front end if they're a good fit, but then ultimately the board decides, too, if they're a good fit for the counties, because like you said, being a pool, we are all in this together. We all experience good years and bad years together, and, but overall, we know our costs that we charge are pretty good compared to the outside, and so that's the goal for all of us too. So exactly, yeah.
And I know Commissioner Ward from Winona County sits on the MCIT board for this region. So
correct. Yep. Exactly.
you can always ask Marcia.
Yep.
And she'll have an opinion.
Yep. She's fun.
Thank you very much.
Yes, have a great day.
I think Stacy's going to take the sentence to serve portion here.
Good morning.
Morning.
Sure I don't get yelled at for not having a microphone on. All right, so everything that was included in the packet is a refresher from what we talked about at the June 17th Committee of the Whole regarding Goodhue County Sentence to Serve program. I included that, all of the information from the Committee of the Whole, but also wanted to bring back a request to the county board today to actually move forward and implement our own Sentence to Serve program. If you recall, on June 17th, the county board authorized the county administrator to establish an STS program to be operated by Goodhue County. This authorization also included both the implementation of an interim plan to hire a temporary crew leader and the development of a long-term plan to be incorporated into the 2026 budget. So since June 17th to last week, we'd been having conversations, we've been running numbers, we were talking with jail staff, determining what an interim program could look like. And without having the STS coordinator involved in the interim program, we felt that we'd be continuing to operate a minimal crew with approximately 1 or 2 coming out of the facility, and we felt it was important to have that coordinator in place in order to make the phone calls, to schedule the individuals for the people who've already been sentenced, who are currently on probation. Those are the individuals that we need to get into the vehicles. So at this time, we did not feel it would be cost effective to move forward with an interim plan, so we're back in front of you today to ask you to implement our long-term plan. Today, what we're asking with our long-term plan to ensure that the STS program is fully operational before the end of 2025. Advancing the plan would reduce reliance on contracted services during the fall and winter months and help minimize overtime costs incurred by county staff. Additionally, it would allow for minimal disruption to the program and ensure continued opportunities for the individuals sentenced by the courts to participate. So outline in here as well, it shows you our staffing plan, which is 2 full-time crew leaders, which allows for 7-day-a-week coverage for both adults and juveniles. That's how it has worked in the past. They've worked 10-hour days, so we have a Sunday through Wednesday crew leader, and we have a Wednesday through Saturday, which allows for anybody who's working a full-time job, who's been sentenced to the program. They have weekend opportunities to do their time. We're also asking for a full-time STS coordinator case aide, so that time is split between, so 50% of it's STS coordinator, the other 50% is a case aide position within court services. We outline the budget impact. So all projected expenses were attached in the spreadsheet, so everybody had a chance to see that. For the total cost for the remainder of 2025 is estimated to be approximately $86,876. That is if we can have the program operational by November 1st. So that includes salary and benefits for 3 staff people. It includes our upfront cost to start up the program, purchasing vehicles, purchasing equipment, computer equipment, cell phones, etc. This cost would be fully offset by funds already allocated in the 2025 operating budget, which was for the STS contract and from salary savings from a retired court services staff. Use of fund balance would only be required if we're unable to acquire the current state-owned STS vans. We're still working through those conversations. They've had people on vacation, so we haven't settled on a price yet. And then the last line there is that full implementation of the program is expected to increase the operating budget and impact the levy by approximately $137,000 annually in 2026. So just going through the spreadsheet really quickly, we did have Tessa go through the job descriptions. So we have the estimated salary and benefits. We have job descriptions written. They've been graded. We've noted that the crew leaders are a grade 110, that the STS coordinator in case 8 is a grade 109. We work through some other expenses, our upfront costs, which include computers, 2 vans, the trailers and larger equipment, still waiting on word from the state on what could be available to us to purchase. The regional supervisor's back in the office this week, so expect to have those conversations with her. If we would need to purchase a new van, if there wasn't anything available or we didn't, something that didn't meet our needs without taking on something that was going to cost us a lot of, that had some headaches or a lot of mechanical issues or whatnot in the past. State contract is $48,000 for a brand new van. We're anticipating that we're going to be able to purchase 2 used vans from the state of Minnesota. And then it just outlines that we had $77,714 remaining from the contract that was currently budgeted in 2025 and how we're going to offset those expenses with that. So today we're asking the county board to move forward with implementing our own Sentence to Serve program, which means the hiring of the 3 staff people to do that, and then to include the additional dollars in the 2026 budget to move forward. Any questions?
Questions?
It's kind of a simple question. I'm looking at the Goodhue County Sentence to Serve program, annual program expenses, and it lists that number as $152,203. So it's the second to the last page.
In the presentation from the 17th? Or?
Yep, this is what I'm looking at right here. And so I'm just wondering why that's 152 and the levy impact is 137, and I don't think it's a huge deal.
So-
I just didn't understand that.
Sure, so that's the committee of the whole from June 17th.
Yep.
And what's different from June 17th to the spreadsheet, the
Yep.
colored spreadsheet, is we actually had the estimated cost for salary and benefits was put
understand.
into the June 17th, and now we have actual grades and salaries for those individuals. So that's
So it
why
was
the
a little
cost-
less than
So
you
it's
had
less.
expected.
Yeah, we
Thank
had
you.
estimated high on June 17th. That's the difference.
So this is a budget item, so it should be coming in from the budget, which it kind of is, and I thought we had a consensus that we were going to try to get a temporary crew leader in here because you can't tell me, court services can't tell any of us, and you're looking at, we had an individual in here that was looking for a job right away, so he's going to be content waiting till when we hire him. The program's not going to be active till November. We don't know how many individuals we can even staff and to get into a van, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I thought we were trying to do this from an interim basis, that we knew we had a crew leader that could come in, get this program up and functioning. And now we're saying we can't do that, but we're going to hire 3 people to sit around and get prepared to work with the crew starting in November.
Yeah, I would say that we could be active because the
And so meanwhile, instead of having this temporary crew up and running to fulfill the mowing, the stuff that we normally would do, we're just going to spend money to do that elsewhere, which isn't included in this budget, and hope that we're functioning in November.
So that, I don't know, Scott, if you want to refer to the interim.
Well, on the interim, Jason, what we found out is we were only going to have 1 or 2 people on the crew, and we heard fairly loud and clear that we'd like as full as possible crews. So we can go back and look at a crew of 1 if you want, but that's all that was available unless we have the coordinator, case aide, actively calling and saying, hey, you were sentenced to X number of hours of sentence to serve. I'd like to get you scheduled. Are you available Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week? If we're not doing that, we have crews of 1 or 2, and we thought we heard fairly loud and clear that that was not an interest to the board.
Right, because I think that was a concern specifically that I have. If you couldn't fill a crew, why are we doing it?
Right, and that's why we didn't do it.
Okay, so now we're going to be optimistic we can fill 2 crews starting in November.
So it would be 1 crew.
1 crew.
1 crew, two crew leaders to be able to provide 7 days a week coverage.
I see.
And then there's also the juvenile piece, and the juvenile crew is separate. They can't run the same time as adults. So one of the weekend days would need to be set aside for juveniles.
And there's not enough coordination because obviously this program was functioning up until the beginning of June. So our court administration is not fully functional or able to transition this to an interim to say we can get 3 to 4 people. Obviously, they're not that
So the
squared
only-
away or what?
The people who were reporting for sentence to serve were the ones that were coming out of our facility, the Adult Detention Center. I don't know, Rhonda, if you have any more when it comes to the people who've been sentenced.
Well,
and
it's
getting-
not a big deal. Just obviously this can't be accomplished. So where in the budget does it cover what we're going to spend without having the sentence to serve? We're going to hire outside people to mow and take care of stuff at the fairgrounds, aren't going to get the help then for the next couple months then, so.
Right, which we've had those dollars from not having the contract since June 1st, and now we're saying that, and we have that's the $77,714. We also have public works staff that's taking on a number of the duties, a number of things that have been done, so they're incurring some overtime.
I got you. I just thought we had a plan that we'd get this as an interim basis to move forward with it, to know that the program was going to be functional.
We also didn't fully
don't.
have commitment from a crew leader who is available to provide that interim basis.
And you still don't because we haven't put out hiring and do that we know we're going to have
Correct.
a crew leader who's been active with it, so.
We actually have had some individuals who've asked the questions, like, is the county moving forward with this? It's a position that I would be interested in applying for, people who haven't, not previous crew leaders, but
I got you. It's a budget item, but you want us to make a decision on it today, so.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So if, let's say the crew leaders do get hired quite quickly, and all of a sudden, this thing could be up and operational middle of September. I mean, that'd be really pushing it, but, so it could be or wouldn't be?
it could be, really, it's a matter of position descriptions have been written, they've been approved by, they've been graded by DDA. So it'd be a matter of posting positions, going through the hiring process, the background stuff, and then getting the ball rolling. It could be sooner than November 1st.
That's only one step of it, though. Obviously, they have to work with the court system to have people for the crew, which,
I
Rhonda's-
thought during the presentation that there were many hours that were not getting done that people were sentenced to. And we just need someone to get them out the door and into a van and to fulfill their sentence. But without the person that does that, the crew leader's out in the field, he's not doing it, or they're not doing it, whoever, female or male. So you have to have somebody that does that. Did the state do some of that with the contract?
The state did very little with that, and that was the issue of the crews going lower and lower.
The state did more years ago than they did.
Years ago, Court Services had a staff member that did that, and we
Right.
lost that position.
Right, and that was the demise of having full crews, was losing that person. So if we put that back in place, we should be able to fill crews, and the 2 crew leaders is basically the weekend and the, 7 days a week, not 5 days a week. So I get that, so the real decision is, do we want a sentence to serve program? It takes this to operate it efficiently. Do we want to do that? If we don't, then we should just say no.
Yeah, I'm supportive of the Sentence to Serve program, but I'm a little confused too about some of the details. So before, no one's been calling for some time to keep these filled, or someone's been calling, but we're changing how that happens?
Nobody's been calling.
I
So that's
see.
why your people have came from the jail and not from the street.
Okay,
That's been the change over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be you'd have somebody calling constantly, people would be scheduled, they know what day they're working.
and so when we had that coordinator, I can't remember the size of full crew, is it 7?
They were close to 8. 6
Okay,
to 8.
so when someone was calling, were they 7 and 8 people? And most recently, it's only been a couple people?
It's the people coming from the facility. And that's
So-
the other piece, too, that we heard at the committee of the whole was the judges are willing to work with our jail staff and maybe add some modifications to who's eligible within the facility
Sure.
moving forward, like give more leniency to the jail staff to do.
So we have every reason to believe the crews would be pretty full, maybe averaging 6 or something, with this coordinator position. That sound right?
I would believe that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it was in the past. Honestly, there were days that they were 8 to 10.
Thank you. Well, I'll make a motion that we approve going forward with the Sense to Serve program as presented.
A second.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, we move forward with the program as presented and work towards that goal as quickly as possible. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work on that. I know it's not easy. Finance and Taxpayer Services, tax forfeited land. Welcome.
Thank you. Before you, you have a request we received from the city of Cannon Falls. They are requesting a piece of tax forfeited land. This piece of tax forfeited land forfeited in 1993. It sits along the Cannon River and it extends south of Stoughton Street. In 2017, our office had the Department of Natural Resources review all of our forfeited parcels that had forfeited in 2002 and prior. In January of 2018, we received their response. Their response was that they would approve us to sell this piece of tax forfeited land. Following receiving that, the Land Committee met in February of 2018 and reviewed all of these parcels. At that time, it was decided that we would not move forward with selling this parcel. In September of 2024, the city of Cannon Falls reached out to us. They had a landowner that wanted to build a home but needed additional land to do so. They were going to attempt to vacate a street. However, that street, if vacated, the portion lying north of the center line would then be attached to the tax forfeited parcel instead of being able to be attached to their parcel. So that vacated street did happen. The vacation happened in April of this year. Following that, in May, staff met to discuss this parcel. It was determined that we felt it was the best interest to move forward trying to sell the parcel to the city of Cannon Falls because, one, the portion lying north of Stoughton Street is currently being used by the city for drainage to the Cannon River. And then second, the city was intending to split the portion south of Stoughton Street and sell it to the adjoining landowner, therefore increasing our tax base. In June of this year, we did receive the resolution from the city of Cannon Falls asking to request to purchase that parcel. Minnesota statute allows us, or the county board, to sell this land to the city of Cannon Falls for public purpose. We felt that the public purpose requirement is met due to the drainage that's already happening. The board is then tasked with setting what the market value should be of the parcel. The assessor currently has the estimated market value of $1,200 on this parcel. The city of Cannon Falls is agreeing to pay the market value of the parcel and also the fees to transfer the parcel to them. In their resolution that's attached to this, they have also stated that they will seek no profit from the split and sale of the parcel to the adjoining landowner. So at this time, we are asking that the board approve the sale to the city of Cannon Falls and set the market value for the sale.
Questions? I just have one. Doesn't fall under the new tax forfeiture rules that were passed by the state.
Right.
It's too old.
Yep, it's too old. So basically what happened with the new laws is it breaks our tax forfeitures into 3 buckets. You have the forfeitures that happened before June of 2016. Those are called the legacy forfeitures, or what we refer to them. They follow the old statutes. Then you have the forfeitures that happened between June of 2016 and December of 2023. Those are the ones in the look-back period. Those are the ones that we, if we have any, have to sell, and 75% of the portion goes to the state of Minnesota for the settlement fund for the owners to come back and get the surplus. Then the new statutes apply to any forfeitures from January 1st of 2024 and forward.
Got it. Thank you. Board's wishes.
I'll move this forward.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We move the resolution to sell parcel 52 140-0140 to the city of Cannon Falls as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same. Motion carries. Thank you. One more going on the books. Land use management. Welcome, Megan.
Good morning to the board. The first item for your consideration is to consider a tabled request for a conditional use permit for Kenyon Solar LLC. This item was reviewed and tabled at the July 3rd board meeting. It is for a 4-megawatt commercial solar farm located at 4578 County 12 Boulevard in Kenyon, Minnesota. The solar site would take up approximately 35 acres of the overall 120-acre farm. I did link the previous agenda materials in your board packet, and the primary discussion that happened at the last meeting was centered around the county's ability and desire to require a financial security on the project. The county's zoning ordinance does allow the board to require a financial security in the amount of 125% of the cost of the decommissioning of the project. Staff was able to do some research. I did find that this had come up before, that the Planning Commission has discussed this as they've been reviewing conditional uses for utility scale solars. In the staff report, I did just sort of give you an idea of how widely varied throughout Minnesota the financial securities are. But overall, I am seeing that the counties that have that are seeing solar projects primarily in southwestern Minnesota are requiring some sort of financial security. The developer did submit a decommissioning plan and a decommissioning cost estimate. The amount of decommissioning is listed at $414,807, and 125% of that would be $518,508. The decommissioning financial security could be used by the county in the event that something happens to the owner of the property, the developer of the property, that something like a bankruptcy, foreclosure, whatever, where we would have to go in and essentially remove the solar panels from the site and restore it to agricultural land. So with that, the recommendation is to essentially require the financial security for this project, and then really, based on my research, for you all to know that it is very likely that land use's recommendation would be to require financial securities going forward for larger utility scale projects. So with that, are there any questions?
Questions? You and I had a conversation about this, and a couple of my concerns were, okay, if we start down this path, we're going to have to define at what point we're going to put them. Is it 2 megawatts? Is it 4 megawatts? Is it 1 megawatt? What is the point where we're going to require to do this? I don't think we want to do it on a one-off type deal. We want to have it consistent. We need to be that way. The second point was every year we're going to have to track, make sure that financial security is in place, make sure that they're still keeping it up. That's on us, because if they missed 5 years of it, then we missed it. They didn't. Yes, it's a condition on there, but how are we going to shut that down if that's the case? So it does require us staff time to track it and to do it. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying we need to know that going into it. We currently don't have a process to do that. I think even when I think about the conditions we put on conditional uses, we typically don't consistently check to make sure they're being followed with regard to many different areas. So I think that's the thought process that's going through my head is there's going to be an ongoing cost to do this. It's probably the right thing to do, but we need to know that staff will then be spending time tracking these, setting up a system to track them, and making sure that whoever it is that's going to have that bond. And then the other question that always is lingering in my mind is we're asking a company, in this case, the company putting in the solar project, to carry a bond on somebody else's private property. And from a legal standpoint, I've always wondered if that is the right way it should be, or should it be the landowner has to carry that bond for decommissioning? And I don't know if the county attorney has an opinion on that.
Not right now. I'd have to think about that one. I'm not sure what the contract is between the landowner and the solar company and who is responsible under that agreement for the decommissioning of the project at the end of the term. I think that would weigh into that at some level. But ultimately, you know, I think you're right. I mean, there are some issues there, and ultimately the property owner would be responsible for their own property. So I'd have to think about that.
So the real question, I guess the real way I look at it is we should be requesting the landowner carry the bond. And then in their contract with the solar company is where they should ask the solar company to pay for the bond. Because that takes that who said, he said, we're responsible, you're responsible. It's not my land, it's yours. I'm walking away. I just think there's a question in my mind, and there was a long time ago when we talked about this. I really think it should be the landowner that carries the bond, and I think they can make the agreement with the solar operator or solar installer on that. Otherwise, we're going to be having to look at them contracts between the landowner and to make sure that it's covered in there, because otherwise.
And I mean, I'm assuming that the bond would be in favor of Goodhue County, so regardless of who purchases the bond, as long as Goodhue County can enforce it.
I think it'd be a lot easier to track with the landowner, though, because some of these wind and solar, they're going to be buying and selling, and I mean, that can be transferred 5 different times, and for our staff to track that down, I mean, being someone that writes bonds, they are no fun, and just the paperwork and I think Brad's got a good point there. Put that and they can do it. You know, they just do it with, they'll coordinate that into their contract.
Well, I think that would be something you'd want to. We could research that with how the other counties are doing that require the bonds and see how they're doing that as well.
Because we've also implemented they can't sell that off correctly. So I mean, we have a little more.
We have researched that.
Yeah.
Megan and I looked at it, and we can't find that.
Yeah.
I think that's something that our planning commission should visit. This is something that our planning commission should visit about bonds and what level they need to be at, and also that, because I think there's a few of us that kind of remember our past land use director saying, yeah, you can't split off that 1 megawatt solar from the rest of that property. But it's not written into conditions, and we can't find it in the zoning ordinance. So I think we need to revisit that too.
So do we do that before we approve this, or we can approve this with possible amendments?
I'm comfortable, standing behind my recommendation to approve this project. I think that the project itself has been vetted by the Planning Commission. The public hearing has been held. I think maybe the county has a little bit of work to do on the exact process of the bonds, but the way that the condition is written is that the owner or operator would submit the financial security. So that's something that our staff can work with the developer on, and making sure that If the board wishes that that be essentially the property owner, I think the condition is worded as such that it allows the staff some flexibility there.
So when you say owner/operator, the owner of the solar installation, is that the landowner or is that the company?
So the owner of the property is not changing. New Leaf Energy is leasing essentially a portion of the property, and they'll put that into an LLC called Kenyon Solar LLC. But if the board wishes that that be discussed, I can absolutely work with the company and work through that. They've been, willing to work with the county on this. And if you want to add clarification in that condition, that it's the property owner, I think you could do that today.
Okay.
That's where I'd want to be. I would want it to be in the property owner that submits the bond.
And Mr. O'Keefe, do you see any problem with us moving forward and doing it as Brad's suggesting, that the property owner is submitting the bond?
I don't.
All right, thank you.
When you say, does it have to be a bond, security interest, I mean, somebody could have $500,000 sitting in the bank, and they say, no, I've got enough money to secure this. But where's the guarantees on that? I mean, to show evidence of financial security or bonding?
I think you're more secure if they have to actually have a bond.
The ordinance, as written, calls it a financial security. And it's been my understanding then that we would have the ability, it could be a cash escrow, it could be some sort of written guarantee saying, they have this amount of cash, it could be a bond. But again, this is not something that we've done in the past. As Commissioner Anderson brought up, getting an internal operating procedure for this, land use, making sure that we work with the finance department. I would envision that, obviously happening here so that we're consistent.
From a public works standpoint, Jess, when a contractor bids and they have to have a bond, they actually have to go out and purchase a bond? Can they guarantee it with cash in the bank?
We require a bond.
I think to be consistent, I personally think it should be a bond, because how do you get somebody else's money out of the bank? That's pretty hard to do. I mean, it just is. Whereas a bond, you're working, that's what the bond is for, is to cover this unforeseen expense.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want it to be a bond, and I would want it to be in the landowner's name.
I want it to be a bond as well. I mean, you want to know that it's actually going to be covered. So I think that makes sense. And I don't have a strong opinion, and I would defer to Mr. O'Keefe on the second matter.
What was the second
About
matter?
whether it needs to come from the landowner or from the company.
Oh, I think that's, I think that's one of the board's discretion. If that's the preference,
All right.
if the board is moving on, that can be part of the motion as well.
I'm fine with it being the landowner. I don't have any issue with that. And I also liked the notion that it was 125% of the projected cost of decommissioning, because otherwise I think that in 10 years we won't have changed it and the cost will be much higher. And if it's a percent as it goes up, it's kind of automatically adjusted to what that cost would be. So I thought that was smarter than picking a number that's maybe good now but won't be in 5 or 10 years.
Board's wishes.
All right, well, I'll move to accept the findings of fact and the added to this conditional use permit under the conditions, and then would we change number 4 then?
I would think I would read that it's the owner and it needs to be a bond. Landowner, property owner, and it needs to be a bond. That's how I would prefer it.
All right, does that make sense to admin that you can change it? All right. All right, with the 4 conditions.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded, we approve the solar project as presented with the changes to item 4 to be property owner and that it has to be a bond. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
One thing on, back to the Planning Commission, you put that on the next, now we have a subcommittee too that gets together and goes over ordinances and stuff. I just put that on their agenda too to say, hey, how low do we go as far as megawatts be requiring this stuff? So kind of get jumped onto that too, so thank you.
Okay, next item is a request to purchase the last piece in the plat on Lake Billsby West plat. The person couldn't get through the process because of a bank issue when we originally did that plat, and now they're selling it and wish to purchase that last piece. Go ahead, Megan. Probably stole your thunder there.
As Commissioner Anderson stated, the county had owned tracts of land, essentially landlocked land between Lake Billsby and private property owners that are used for residential purposes. In 2021, it's my understanding that the county had initiated a project that replatted the property, sold the land, and essentially cleaned up an area that had been kind of a mess for the county for a while. The land itself had been used. It's my understanding that the land had been used by people that were the adjoining property owners, but they weren't allowed to actually build anything on it. They could just essentially put a dock out. Now they're full fee owners of the property. There's one property left. It's owned by Mr. and Mrs. Robertson. Their property is at 29789 20th Avenue, Cannon Falls, Minnesota. It's shown on the shown on the map that's on the screen and in your packet. And as, like I said, Commissioner Anderson said, this was a property that I understand there was an issue with the mortgage and getting the bank to consent to agreeing to change the legal description. Right now, what I did is I worked with our surveyor's office, who was involved in the project, to kind of bring forward the process that was used in 2001. What the county did is they got an appraisal of the property. They used that appraisal information, come up with sale prices between $300 and $700, and then entered into a purchase agreement. The main condition here was that the county required the land to be replatted into one property. I'm using the term replatted, but it's really merging of two tax parcels into one so that it's one property. So yeah, with that, I guess the recommendation would be to enter into a purchase agreement. There are several things that would need to happen before closing, including, of course, I would say the big one is writing up a deed and getting the land platted and through the platting process.
Questions?
Can you make any comments about the value of that piece of property and the $700 proposed charge for that piece of property?
Sure, I think, I think, so the property itself, I'm trying to find the lot dimensions here. I believe it's about 100 feet wide, and then the depth varies between like 50 to 75 feet deep. It is a non-conforming tract of land. It cannot be built upon. It's too small to be considered a standard buildable lot. Its value, in my opinion, is when it's merged or joined with another property. There are technically 3 adjoining property owners. There's the Robertsons, but then there's property on either side as well. But there is access to it from the lake. I did pull up, I was able to get a copy of the appraiser's report from 2001, and the way that they got a lot of their pricing from was based on sales of non-buildable, non-tillable, bare land in the same market area, and they came up with a value of $2,500 per acre. I think the concern there was the appraiser made it very, very clear that there was no comps in their study area for waterfront, non-buildable land.
Mm-hmm. So I think that that size acre of non-buildable land not on a lake shore would be considerably less than on a lake shore. Yeah. So I guess what it seems to me like is we want to be fair, but we also want to be fair to the county who owns this piece of land. And would there be a way to get a more accurate appraisal of what that piece of land is actually worth?
Sure. I think, the county board would really probably have two options. Is one, we can use our in-house finance department to look at the property, and we can request that an appraisal be done there, or get a third-party appraisal. I looked at the cost of this. I think it was $1,500 in 2001, and they appraised 11 properties kind of along this strip. I mean, granted, the comps that they pulled were all used to put appraisals together for all of them, but there would be an out-of-pocket cost for the county to do an appraisal. So yeah, those would be the options.
Just a comment. Yeah. I'll get to you in a second. Just a comment. So if we went out right now and asked for a private appraiser to look at this, the comps are just what we sold, either side of it. That's the only comps they're going to find, because that appraiser couldn't find a comp. That's what we wrestled with in the land committee. You remember, Linda and I sat in there. We wrestled with how are we going to come up with a cost. And so we did the private appraisal, and you just, in this area, you may find it in northern Minnesota, but you're not going to find it in this area. So you're not going to be an appraiser or somebody who does appraisals is not going to be able to come up with anything other than right now, we just sold a whole bunch of properties, and that's what they're going to use for an appraisal.
Do you agree
That's
with
the
that,
comp
Megan?
they're going to use. So it's going to be, we could go through the process, it's going to still come out to $700 to $1,000. It's going to be about the same, only we're going to spend $500, $600, $700 to get an appraisal.
Do you agree with that, Megan?
Again, I'm coming into this relatively new. My perspective on this is the question that I have been asking myself, and especially as I'm talking to the property owner here, is does the county want to honor an old program from a couple years ago that was really meant to clean up an area? Or do you want to start from scratch with looking at this project as a standalone project and saying, you know what, we're going to start anew. We're going to look at getting an appraisal of this property. I think a lot probably has changed. I think an appraisal, I don't know how appraisals work, but it looks primarily like what they do is they pull comps. And as Commissioner Anderson said, the comps are going to be our comps from our sales. So yeah, it's...
The plat for the rest of these got signed in November or October.
Of which year?
2024. We're less than 8 months away from the last ones we sold.
Sure. So it took a while, is my understanding, to get all the mortgage companies to agree to changing the legal descriptions of the land. And then several of the mortgages required that the mortgage be reappraised to make sure that they're not devaluing their property. In reviewing the state law on this, there's a couple things that I think the county is following, but just for you all to know, It's important that we give essentially the public an opportunity to be, we need to be transparent about what's happening. We're fulfilling that by having this on a public meeting. If the county is selling land over $15,000, we do need to go through a public bidding process. If it's less than that, we can negotiate with a single property owner.
These property owners, just so we're back on where we started, the county's request was property owners pay for all the legal fees with this. Property owners first went to the state, got approval, as they did on the other side of the lake, to sell directly from the county to the landowners adjoining between them and the lake. They had to get legislation to approve that. They did that, which took the public sale out of it, really. Then we had to come up with a price. They had to do all the platting work, all the survey work. They had to pay for all of that, and that cost a pretty penny for all of them to get to this point. This is just one that could not get over the hurdle of getting their bank to agree to it, and I know Jeff worked with them for a long time. Lisa worked with banks a long time to help get that process through. So this is just the last one.
I'll make a motion to approve the land use agenda item as it's written in here, along with the summary checklist to move forward with allowing the property owner to purchase that deed. So
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. We move forward with this as presented. And I think the other piece of this is that landowner has to create their own plat for that piece at their own cost, and administratively now that can go forward with this approval. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Just so we're clear on that. It's not going to come back to us. This is the last time we'll see it. Any other questions? Did you had a comment. Are you the landowner? Oh.
Can you come up to the microphone?
Come up by Megan here and she'll give you a mic. That one's not on.
we do have a motion and a second on the floor, so.
Yeah,
not sure
we'll
about
take care of that.
First of all, thank you. Secondly, I guess the question was, I guess at the beginning, it's unclear like how you just worded that. For me anyway, like leaving, does it need to get replatted? Okay.
Yep.
To me, that feels like, I mean, it's going to be the same hurdle, the same struggle. I don't know.
We can't, because the other plat's totally approved, this cannot be part of that plat. It will be its own plat. And I think you and I talked about that. And you'll have to work with staff on that.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve this. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right. Motion carries. Next item, Bucks Unlimited, which is a dairy expansion.
The agenda item before you is to consider a conditional use permit for a feedlot expansion for over 500 animal units. I will point out that the public hearing did occur already at the Planning Commission, so you do not need to hold a public hearing here today. The property is located in an A1 zoning district at 37298 180th Avenue, Goodhue, Minnesota. Included is the application materials, odor offset calculations, and maps of the site. The property is owned by David and Ann Buck. I'll just sort of quickly go over what's being proposed. Is they are doing 2 heifer barn expansions and then a large freestyle barn expansion and a new calf shed. Their manure storage facility is not needing to be upgraded at this time. They did that expansion in 2019. The Planning Commission minutes are included in the packet. I will note that there was a slight discrepancy between the draft minutes and what I had put into the draft recording document. There was a condition in there to require a water management plan. That is actually, we call that the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's NPDES permit. So that's in the, what we call the recording document that actually gets recorded on the property. So I just changed that to the proper terminology and the common nomenclature that we use. The findings of fact are, again, in the county's zoning ordinance. They are standard findings that must be met. I did add, there's the commission, or the Planning Advisory Commission did add an additional finding, just noting that there was a variance approval for this project as well, and it was related to a setback of a proposed barn structure. There was some correspondence between the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and staff on this project, because anytime there's over 1,000 animal units added at one time, there's an environmental review required. That 1,000 animal add threshold is not being met in this case, but it can be retroactively applied if somebody is increasing, let's just say like 700 animal units in 1 year, and then they do 400 the next year. They'll look at it over a 5-year period. So we did need to work with the Bucks on just making sure that they don't have expansion plans for more than 1,000 animal units in a 5-year period. And they confirmed that that's not their plan right now. So with that, the Planning Commission is recommending approval with the attached findings and conditions.
Questions?
Just on page 2 there, it's not I think it's maybe possibly just a typo. It's called I'm pretty sure it's a freestall barn, not a freestyle.
Probably.
Yep, okay.
I'll move approval of the PAC recommendation and the finding of facts.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the permit, conditional use permit for the Bucks Unlimited as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you. Good work. Public Works. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Got a couple items for you today, relatively low-key. The first one being that of a road tour. The County Board did not do a road tour in 2024 due to schedules, but we're looking at trying to accommodate one here this year. So there's plenty of stuff to go take a look at, construction that we were able to complete last year, as well as current construction, and then any future items that the board would be interested in. The time frame that I'm kind of eyeing up presently would be the second half of September, early October. I'll be unavailable coming up due to a family life change. We're adding a little rascal to the horde, so I'll be a little indisposed for a while, but I would.
And you're a little excited about that, aren't you?
I am.
That's good.
Pretty fun. So, with that, we're wondering if the commissioners would like to take a road tour this year, and we can work out potential dates if the board so chooses. If the board does not wish to do a road tour, I would invite any member of the board that would like to go out and visit certain sites to let me know. I'll coordinate something and we can go for an individual drive, or a couple of us can pair up and we can go visit sites that way too. So with that, I'll leave it up to the board.
I'd like to go on a road trip, well, a road trip too, but I would like to go on a road tour. I thought it was very, very helpful in 2023. And if you plan a road trip, I'll go on that one too.
Anybody else?
Yep, I will go.
Would go as well.
Okay. I think you need to set something up. My comment is, there's a bridge going up on County Road 8 just down the road from me, and I regularly stop in and see it. It is amazing to see the progress they make. I think this week they're pouring the bridge deck. And I was down there like a week ago and a week and a half ago maybe, and none of the beams were on the bridge yet. And here they are a couple weeks later and they're already pouring the deck, and it's like, it goes fast. It's really, they're easy. That one's pretty easy to get to, and you can, go there I go there in the evening, and then nobody's around, so I can
There you go.
just walk in and see some stuff. Don't have to worry about somebody hitting me with a crane, and they got 2 huge cranes down there. I'd also like to, as 2's getting constructed, to get out on that. So I may call and set up a couple times to just get out on that one with our engineers that are working on there. They'll take you down the road and you get to see it. I think it's good to see how much work goes into one of those projects. So if you're able, I suggest you do that. All right, we'll wait to hear more from you, get some dates. Update on Dakota County 54 project.
All right, this item, Jake's gonna hop in here. We had a quick meeting with Dakota County staff to discuss a future project that they have on their County Road 54.
Yep, so this is mainly an informational item for the board to provide an opportunity to provide input or ask questions, as Dakota County was interested in Goodhue County's thoughts on this project. So Dakota County is planning to reconstruct their County Road 54 between Hastings and County Road 68. They're also looking at a roundabout at the intersection of County Road 54 and County Road 68. There's a map for reference in there. This project is mainly being proposed for safety reasons. They have a number of deficient curves along County Road 54, and the intersection at 68 and 54 has been a bit problematic for them in the past with a number of crashes there, hence the proposal of the roundabout. With the proposed construction of 54, Dakota County identified an opportunity to construct a trail which would serve as part of the Hastings to Red Wing Trail that I think the study was done back in 2009, or at least a preliminary study. The trail would essentially be proposed to connect the Mississippi River Trail in Hastings all the way down to, for the time being, the Prairie Island Indian community. So they would essentially build a trail from Hastings all the way down to 68. They would provide the trails at the roundabout, and then essentially pedestrians or bicyclists could go either direction. We would anticipate most of them would head east and south towards the casino. This project is proposed for construction in 2028. At this time, Dakota County is considering doing one of 3 alternatives. Number 1, don't construct a trail. Number 2, actually construct the trail with the project. And then an interim solution would be to grade for the trail with the project, but not actually pave it. So those are the 3 alternatives that Dakota County staff is considering. In their discussion with us, they did mention that their board is interested in input from Goodhue County on this, as it would result in potential pedestrians and cyclists, an increase in the number of those using County Road 18, which could lead to potential operational or safety issues on our County Road 18 in the future. So with that, there's no action needed at this time, but I would stand for any questions or comments that the board may have on this proposal from Dakota County.
Go ahead.
So in your opinion, do you think that it would make a huge issue on County Road 18?
I think it could create an issue. The question will be, with the construction of a trail, there will be more cyclists using County Road 54. I think that's a pretty safe bet. The biggest question would be, once they get down to the intersection, where do they go? The risk would be high, in my opinion, that they simply continue to use the shoulder of County Road 18 and continue towards Red Wing. I would think that'd be a fairly high risk.
Not a very big shoulder.
It's appropriate for the volume of traffic that we have on the road. It meets state aid standards for that. It's not been developed to necessarily support that additional pedestrian traffic. We have limited right-of-way along County Road 18, and we have no present infrastructure built to accommodate installation of a trail. So presently, our 5-year construction plan, we don't have any development cited to support a trail along County Road 18.
How many miles would that be to connect to the cannon?
Well, I know, I don't know the answer to that. I know we purchased or received a chunk of the old railroad bed. I thought it was kind of close to Eder.
So the piece of trail that was acquired by the county was actually on the other side of it would be a different alignment for the trail. This trail would be coming to the east of that. I mean, the ultimate goal, Commissioner Gresseth is correct, is to connect, have that Hastings to Red Wing connection that ultimately gets you to the Cannon Valley Trail.
I would assume that Dakota County's decision will depend a lot on what funding they're able to get or not get for the trail.
They won't specifically be looking at building the trail. I mean, they're more or less considering the grading of their roadway and then whether or not a trail fits into that narrative.
So like the project that they're doing on the north side of Lake Billsby, they're grading a trail along 88 from Randolph down to where their grading project ends, like by the Billsby Park.
Mm-hmm.
They're grading a trail for it, but they're not improving the trail. It's not going to be usable, but they're putting it in when they're building the road.
Sure.
Because it's a whole lot, just like we did on 24 in Cannon Falls. We had a trail graded along 24 that doesn't, it's not improved.
Both sections of 24 from the easternmost roundabout all the way up to Trunk Highway 19 has a trail graded into it. It's not paved, it's just
not gravelled, not anything, it's just a trail.
As the area
It's cheaper to
develops.
do that when they're doing it, and I'm sure, whether they improve that trail or not, they'll make the decision. They have a pretty strong, that whole Greenway trail system along the Mississippi. My guess is they're going to continue it to the county line. But that doesn't mean we have to do anything. But I think us being aware of it at this time, and we can think about it, but we got the toughest part to put a trail in because it's all water.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of wetland along 18 from there down to quite a ways down. So it makes it very difficult. Theirs is not. Theirs is higher ground, so it's not that hard. So good information to know. Unless anybody else got any comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll look for some information on a road tour. You have some information there. Just of note, when Jess is there, the County Road 50 project that we were going to turn it back to gravel probably won't happen this year. Can't find time, can't find funding. Well, I have funding, but can't find time. So just for that information. Any other questions on the for-your information? New or old business? Committee reports. Go ahead.
This is just for information only. I handed out this flyer. The Female Transitional Living Program at West Central just opened up in May. There's been a male program for several years, since 2020. Anyway, this is mostly for social services and probation, Rhonda knows about it. She has spoken very highly about the CLIPS program because for youth who are aging out of foster care system and really haven't had anyone to help them make a transition, it is considered a very good program. So the female unit has just opened.
Thank you. Anybody else? Claims?
Make a motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We pay the bills as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We'll take a couple minutes, and then we'll go into our capital plan.
Buildable beach lot? It's not buildable, and it just
But
says
it's separate.
$111,000.
It was, but it's parcel, was completed parceled separately. And it's accessible,
It is accessible,
yes.
yes.